Every woman a man meets is a mirror. She reflects who he is, not who he pretends to be. And when she stopped choosing you, she was reflecting a truth you didn't want to face. Maybe you lost your direction. Maybe you lost your calm. Maybe you stopped being the man she believed in. It wasn't punishment. It was feedback. In this video, I'll show you 8 brutal truths about why she didn't choose you and why understanding them might be the most powerful thing that ever happens to you. Because once you see the reflection clearly, you can finally rebuild the man in the mirror. Take a breath and be honest. When she stopped choosing you, who were you really then? Not who you wanted to be, not who you pretended to be, but who you had become. That's the question most men avoid because the reflection can be brutal. But it's also freeing because once you see yourself clearly, you stop chasing her and start rebuilding you. If you're ready for that kind of clarity, subscribe and like this video right now. In the comments, tell me if a woman mirrored you today. What would she see? A man she could follow or a man still lost in his own noise? Keep watching because the first truth will cut deeper than you expect, but it's the one that can make you unshakable. Number 1, you had no clear direction, and she felt it long before you did. She didn't need a man with a mansion, a luxury car, or a 6-figure salary. What she needed was a man who knew where he was going. A man who moved with purpose, who woke up with intent. That quiet confidence that says, I'm building something. That's what makes a woman want to stand beside you. Not because she needs to, but because she wants to be part of the momentum. But when your life feels like you're drifting, no real goals, no fire, no mission, she senses it immediately. You might think you're hiding it well, but energy doesn't lie. Every hesitation, every excuse, every I'm figuring things out is a signal that you're lost. And when a woman feels that uncertainty, she can't trust where the connection is going. It's not about money or status, it's about clarity. Direction gives you gravity, and without it, you become weightless in her world. She can't anchor herself to someone who's still trying to decide if he's even ready to lead. A woman can grow with a man who's in motion, even if he's not there yet. But she can't follow a man who's standing still because stagnation breeds insecurity. And insecurity kills attraction faster than failure ever could. What most men don't realize is this. When you don't know where you're headed, you start to move like a passenger in your own life. You wait for signs. You wait for permission. You wait for her to fill the silence that your lack of direction created. And slowly she stops waiting for you. A man with no direction doesn't just lose her trust. He loses his edge, his magnetism, his masculine energy, everything that made her look at him with admiration in the first place. A man without direction doesn't just lose her, he loses his gravity. Number 2, your insecurity became her responsibility, and that's when she started to pull away. You might think you were being vulnerable, but there's a difference between vulnerability and emotional dependence. Vulnerability says, here's what I'm working on. Dependence says, please fix me. And that's what she began to feel. That somewhere along the line, she stopped being your partner and became your emotional caretaker. She could feel it in the small things. How your tone changed when she didn't text back fast enough. How you needed reassurance that she still liked you. How every conversation somehow circled back to your fear of losing her. You didn't have to say the words. She could sense it in the silence, in your eyes, in the way you over-explained simple things. At first, she tried to help. She comforted you. She reassured you. She even adjusted herself to make you feel safer. But here's the truth most men never see. The moment she starts managing your emotions, she stops being attracted to you. Not because she stopped caring, but because she's no longer free to relax around you. She's busy carrying your emotional weight, and that's exhausting. Women are drawn to men who carry themselves with emotional stability. Men who bring calm to chaos, not chaos to calm. When you rely on her to constantly remind you that you're enough, you unknowingly drain the energy that once made her admire you. The polarity flips. She becomes the strong one. You become the dependent. Confidence doesn't mean pretending you're unshakable. It means finding peace in your own skin with or without her validation. Because when you build your worth from within, she feels safe. When you need her to hold it for you, she eventually drops it. She didn't leave because she stopped loving you. She left because she got tired of managing you. Number 3, you made her feel unsteady. Attraction isn't logical. It's emotional gravity. It's not about what she thinks of you. It's about how she feels when she's around you. And whether you realized it or not, she stopped feeling safe in your presence. Not unsafe like danger, unsafe like imbalance. Like she couldn't relax around you anymore. You see, women don't crave excitement all the time. They crave certainty, not in words but in energy. When you're grounded, she feels it. When you're centered, she can exhale. But when you start reacting to every mood shift, every delay, every small trigger, she feels like she has to take the wheel. That's when the dynamic starts to die. You might think you were showing passion, that your intensity proved how much you cared, but it didn't feel like love to her. It felt like volatility. It felt like she had to monitor your emotional temperature before deciding if the moment was safe. That's not romance. That's pressure. And when a woman feels pressure, she pulls back, not to hurt you, but to protect her peace. Because her nervous system can't rest around a man who's unpredictable. You don't need to dominate to make her feel safe. You just need to be steady. The kind of man who doesn't flinch when life moves sideways. The kind who doesn't need control to maintain calm. True masculine presence is silent power. It's the ability to stay centered even when everything else is spinning. That's what lets her relax, open, and trust your leadership. Because the truth is simple. When she feels like she has to lead, she starts loving you like a friend, not a man. And once that shift happens, it's almost impossible to reverse. So if you want her to stay, stop trying to impress her. Start becoming the calm in her storm. Number 4. You were too nice, and it cost you her respect. You thought being endlessly agreeable would make her feel loved. You thought saying yes to everything, avoiding conflict, and always putting her first would show maturity. But she didn't see love. She saw fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of disappointing her. Fear of standing on your own ground. Here's the harsh truth. Being nice is easy. Being respected is earned. She didn't want a man who folded the second tension showed up. She wanted a man who could look her in the eye and hold his frame, calm, steady, unapologetic. When every opinion, every decision, every boundary disappeared just to keep her comfortable, you stopped feeling like a man with substance. You became someone who blended into the background of her life. A man who made her feel safe, but not alive. Women don't lose attraction when you're kind. They lose attraction when kindness becomes submission. Because every time you said, "It's okay, whatever you want," you didn't sound generous. You sounded uncertain, and uncertainty erodes respect faster than anger ever could. Respect and attraction are twins. The moment she stops respecting you, the desire follows quietly behind it. That's why she started testing you, not to hurt you, but to see if there was any strength left to lean on. When she pushed, you retreated. When she challenged you, you apologized for existing. She didn't want to control you. She wanted to feel your presence, the kind that stands tall even when she disagrees. Because the truth is, real kindness has a backbone. It listens, but it doesn't bend for validation. It understands compassion, but it never trades it for weakness. You thought you were winning her heart, but every time you silenced yourself to please her, you erased another piece of what made her respect you. You didn't lose her because you weren't good enough. You lost her because you were too afraid to be real. Number 5. You didn't add value. You just existed. She didn't want perfection. She wanted presence. She didn't expect you to have everything figured out. She just wanted to feel that being with you made her life richer, lighter, more grounded. But somewhere along the line, your presence stopped changing the atmosphere. You were there physically, but your energy brought nothing new. No spark, no inspiration, no calm, just neutral existence. And here's the part that stings. Being in her life isn't the same as adding to it. Relationships are not about filling time. They're about exchanging energy. Every interaction either expands both of you or drains one of you. When your presence stopped giving her peace, excitement, or perspective, she subconsciously began to disconnect. She didn't need constant entertainment or grand gestures, but she did need to feel that her world grew when you entered it, that you brought something more than comfort. Maybe it was laughter. Maybe it was direction. Maybe it was emotional steadiness. Whatever it was, it used to make her feel alive. Then it faded. When you stopped chasing growth, when you stopped showing curiosity about life, when you started moving through days like a man on autopilot, that's when she started looking elsewhere for inspiration. Not for another man, but for something that reminded her of what aliveness feels like. Adding value doesn't mean doing more. It means being more. It means developing the kind of inner life that makes people feel elevated just by being around you. That's magnetic. That's what women gravitate toward. Not possessions, not bravado, but energy that feels alive and directed. You were in her life, but you never made her life better. And that's why she stopped choosing you. Not because you failed to impress her, but because you forgot how to move her. Number 6. You talked more than you listened. She didn't leave because of one argument. She left because she stopped feeling understood. And that's not something she could explain. It's something she felt every time she tried to open up to show you the deeper side of her. You filled the space with your words. You wanted to fix things. You wanted to prove a point. You wanted to be heard. But what she needed was silence, your attention, not your advice. You thought being a good communicator meant talking clearly, but for women, communication is about feeling seen. They don't remember every word you said. They remember how you made them feel while they were speaking. And if your eyes drifted, if your body tensed, if your answers felt rehearsed, she noticed, because women sense disconnection faster than men admit. You probably didn't mean to interrupt. You were just eager to connect, to share, to show her that you cared. But when every conversation turns into you trying to lead, explain, or defend, she feels invisible. The space for her emotions gets smaller and smaller until there's none left. Listening isn't passive. It's one of the most dominant things a man can do because it shows presence, not performance. When you listen without agenda, you create safety. When you listen with curiosity, you create intimacy. That's how emotional attraction grows, in the silence between her words, where she feels your stillness more than your speech. Women don't want a man who talks over them. They want a man whose calm makes them want to speak forever. You can't connect with a woman's heart if your voice never stops echoing in the room. Because when you fill every silence, there's no space left for her. She stopped opening up because every time she spoke, you made it about you. And once a woman feels unheard, she doesn't argue. She detaches quietly, permanently. Number 7. You lacked emotional maturity, and it made her feel unsafe. Emotional maturity isn't about not feeling. It's about not losing yourself inside those feelings. It's not about silence or stone faces. It's about composure. That quiet strength that says, I can handle this. Because when a man can't handle his own emotions, a woman knows she'll eventually have to handle them for him. And that's when everything shifts. At first, she tried to meet you halfway. She listened when you were angry, reassured you when you were insecure, forgave you when you lashed out, but every time you spiraled, it chipped away at her sense of safety. She couldn't predict which version of you would show up, the calm one or the one walking on emotional glass. You thought being expressive made you real, but emotional maturity isn't about how loudly you feel. It's about how clearly you respond. When you blamed instead of reflecting, when you raised your voice instead of grounding your tone, when you stormed out instead of staying present, you taught her that your emotions ruled you. And once she felt that, she stopped trusting you. Not your words, not your love, you. Because love without stability feels like standing on thin ice. One wrong move and everything cracks. Women aren't drawn to men who never feel pain. They're drawn to men who stay anchored in it. Men who can hold discomfort without projecting it onto everyone around them. That's what creates emotional safety. That's what builds trust deeper than attraction. True masculinity isn't dominance. It's discipline, emotional discipline, the ability to face chaos without becoming it. She didn't need you to be perfect. She just needed to trust your calm. And when she couldn't, she stopped leaning on you. Not out of pride, but out of protection. Because no woman feels safe building her world on a man who collapses every time it rains. Number 8, sometimes she wasn't meant to choose you. This is the truth most men resist because it feels like defeat, but it's not. It's release. Not every woman who leaves your life was supposed to stay. Some were there to show you the parts of yourself you had abandoned. Some were mirrors, not partners. They reflected what needed to change, then faded once the lesson was learned. You can't force timing. You can't convince compatibility. You can't argue your way into alignment. Attraction is more than chemistry. It's timing, values, readiness, and emotional growth, all colliding at once. If even one of those isn't in sync, no amount of effort can hold it together. You could have been everything right on paper, loyal, kind, steady. But if her season of life called for something different, if she was evolving, searching, healing, you couldn't have been her choice no matter what you did. And that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of divine timing. Sometimes the breakup wasn't a rejection. It was a redirection. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Because the version of you she walked away from wasn't your final form. He was just a draft. You see, the right woman won't need convincing. She won't need constant proof. She'll just know. She'll recognize your energy, your clarity, your peace. She'll feel at home, not because you said the right things, but because your presence speaks for itself. So stop obsessing over who didn't choose you. Stop trying to rewrite endings that were already meant to happen. Some doors close because your story needs silence before the next chapter begins. Stop trying to win her back. Start becoming the man who doesn't lose himself when she leaves. Because when you evolve into that man, grounded, clear, and whole, the right woman won't have to be convinced. She'll choose you effortlessly. The 8 truths you just heard aren't meant to wound you. They're meant to wake you. Each one is a mirror. Some will sting, some will cut deeper than you expected. But that pain, that's your power returning, because she didn't choose you. Not because you weren't enough, but because you weren't aligned. You were out of rhythm with your own potential. You lost direction. You lost calm. You lost the parts of you that once made her feel safe, inspired, and drawn in. And when she walked away, she wasn't taking your worth with her. She was giving you back the space to find it again. You see, women don't define your value. They reveal it. Every rejection is a recalibration. Every silence is a signal. When you stop chasing her validation and start rebuilding your own gravity, that's when everything changes. That's when you stop orbiting around love and start becoming the source of it. Let her leaving be the lesson, not the label. Let it sharpen you, not shrink you. Because the truth is, the man she couldn't choose doesn't have to be the man you remain. You can rebuild him wiser, calmer, more directed. The kind of man who doesn't need to prove anything to be felt. You can't control who stays, but you can control who you become after they leave. So if this video hit you harder than you expected, it means you're ready. Ready to reclaim your power. Ready to rebuild your focus. Ready to rise as the version of yourself that no longer needs to chase. Because he attracts through presence, not pursuit. Subscribe not for her, not for revenge, but for you. Because this isn't about chasing women. It's about rebuilding the man she can't forget.